Hey designers, Alex here. Welcome to another live stream, and this is going to be the last live stream from this series about mobile app design in Adobe XD. If you have not already, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is alexondesign.com. And let me switch right here so you can see it right here. So Alex on Design, and my website is alexondesign.co, where you can join my membership to get all of these courses which I'm creating, practice files, design products, and so much more. So if you're interested, link is going to be in the chat. Thank you so much for watching today's live stream, which is once again pre-recorded, sadly, because I cannot be with you live per se, but same like every other week, I'm going to be live with you in the comments. So if you have any comment, if you have any questions, make sure to leave it in the chat. Today we are live streaming, same like last week and the week before, to my YouTube channel, which once again is Alex on Design on YouTube, to my private Facebook group, which is located in that membership. So if you want to join, you can access that private Facebook group, and to my Behance page, which is Web Donut. So hey to everybody, and once again, as I said, today we are going to finish up where we left off last week with the animations of our mobile app design. If you have not watched already, make sure to go back and to watch all of the previous recordings. But basically, to freshen up your memory a little bit, I brought this along. So this was the original paper wireframe which we created using this black dot grid piece of paper. As you can see, we just created these two screens, and then we moved those screens into Adobe XD, where we created the wireframe, and from that wireframe we then later moved it on to design. So if I switch to Adobe XD, this is what we created. So from this paper wireframe, we simply moved on to the wireframe in Adobe XD, and then after that, in the last week's live stream, we created this design. So in today's video, we are going to move this design along, and we are going to add some more complex animations, because if I take you back right here, it took us an hour last week to create this design. So basically, I want to animate these cards, I want to animate these switching options and triggers, so when users select different colors, different shoes are going to appear and stuff like that. And also we want to connect these two screens, because we didn't do that in the previous live stream. So when users tap on this shoe, it's going to open up this screen, and when they tap on the arrow, it's going to take them back. And finally, I'm going to add some cool animations to the button at the bottom. So when they add to cart, there is actually going to be the animation, and it's actually going to be adding this shoe to cart. Once again, if you didn't watch last week's live stream, I'm using these shoes from Envato Elements. So basically, this is just a 3D shoe. So if I click right here, I can rotate it in many different ways. Link is going to be in the chat, so if you want, you can access it. And if you're wondering why I'm using this 3D shoe, well, because we have multiple options right here appearing. So basically, that's why I'm using it. So if you want to access it once again, you can, and I'm going to be using these different colors of this same shoe, and I'm going to be using multiple options. So once again, to refresh your memory, if you weren't watching last week's live stream, basically in 3D on Envato Elements, when you position it right here, for example, you can download this angle as PNG or PSD, transparent obviously, so you can use it in your design. And this is a fantastic way to show to your clients how their products are going to look like once you actually position their images, real life images, real life products, into that design that you created in your favorite software, in our case Adobe XD. So without any further ado, let's jump inside and let's quickly go ahead and create this design. So let me minimize a few things here so we can get started. So the first thing which we need to do is actually to start with this shoe. So if I switch to my layers panel, you can see we have main shoe, we have the color, and we have the size below. Now we animated the size, and I can show you that if you weren't watching last week. So basically, when you tap on any one of these, they are going to be selected. And if you want to untap and change your mind, for example, I don't want to select 41, you can click it and it's going to go back to the default state, which is showing right here. And we also included this background color for our artboard, so it makes it easier for our products to stand out a little bit better against this background, rather than if it's just white color. Also, these background shadows are blending in a bit better with this sort of color rather than with white white color. So to get started, what I want to do is actually group these. So I'm going to select my color and I'm going to select my main image and I'm going to select this text at the top, hit Ctrl and G, and let me see what I named it in my original example. So I simply called it selected shoe because this shoe is selected. So selected shoe like this, and let me position these a bit better like so. So selected shoe, I'm going to hit Ctrl K to create it as a component, and basically what we need to do is create a state for each of these. So we're going to have 3 different states. So if we pull my images back like so, and if I jump inside, we have charcoal, we have tan, and we have white. So basically I'm going to create these 3 states for these 3 shoes. So we have default state, which is our default shoe obviously, and we have to create those states. So let me click that, charcoal, create tan like that, and we can create white. So first things first, what we need to do is basically change up these shoes, and there are 2 different ways that you can do that. Obviously, you can create multiple placeholders for your images, or you can simply have one placeholder and then in it you can simply replace it in the multiple states of your animation. So how I'm going to do that is in default state is going to stay exactly the same. If we switch to charcoal state, what I'm going to do is jump inside of our color, item color, and I'm going to basically hide this border color for it. Let me hide myself so you can see what I'm doing right here. And then I'm going to jump inside of the item number 2, which is this charcoal, show it because it's selected. And then I'm going to jump inside of my main image, locate my main image, and basically drag and drop this image inside. So let me find it. Here it is, charcoal, drag and drop. And basically I'm going to try to make it be as close as possible to the original, so something like that. So you can see what you did when you switch to default state and when you switch to charcoal. Perhaps it should be a bit smaller. So Shift Alt left click just like that, and let's switch it up. Yeah, I think it's going to be just fine like that. So let's now switch to the 10. Once again, color, item 3, which is this one, show the border, and go back to the item number 1 and hide the border color for it. And finally close all of these, go back to your main image, which is this one, and where is our folder? Here it is. Drag and drop the 10 inside and basically try to reposition it. Once again, you can make copies and you can try to do it that way just to see if you are if you positioned it well. Perhaps just a touch up, like this maybe. Switch it up and see now. Yeah, I think something like that. I think it's going to work just fine. And finally, let's do the same for the white. So item colors 4. I'm going to use this one, border, and I'm going to go back to my number 1 like that, remove it, and basically inside of here I need to change my main image, which is this one. Find it here, so white, drag and drop, double click, Shift Alt left click, somewhere around here I would say. Let's see what we've done. So 10, white, yeah, I think something like that is going to work just fine. So as you can see, all of them are changing, and the important thing is when user taps on some of these, it's going to change as well. So now comes the time when we need to animate these. So what I'm going to do actually is start with the colors. So let's see, item colors. So what I'm going to do is use the auto animate like we did in previous examples and in the previous video. So I'm going to jump in right here. I'm going to use color, item colors, and I'm going to basically use this selector, go to my prototype, click right here because we are in the default state as you can see. So item number 2, click on it, and I'm going to use auto animate, and the destination is going to be charcoal. Then this one, and let's actually not, let's remove it because I want to see these settings. So ease out and 0.6 I think, because I don't want it to be too fast, but at the same time I don't want it to be too slow. So somewhere in the middle, so 0.6 I think is going to work just fine for this example. So let's go to here. This is going to be tan. This is going to be white, like so. And then let's switch it up to charcoal. Now, when you select this first one, it's going to take you to the default state because we want to go back to the default state. Once again, we have the same issue that we have last week. So it shows destination none, but if I click on this one, then to this one, you can see auto animate is still on. So I'm not really sure how to do that. So I'm going to leave this as it is because it's selected. I'm going to switch this to 10, and finally I'm going to switch this to white, like so. Then let's go back to the 10. Select the first one, go to the default state. Great thing about XD is it keeps all of your settings, so you don't have to change them, you don't have to jump in every time and switch them around. It knows what you want to select. So let me go to white and let's finish this off. So this first one is going to go to default, this is going to go to charcoal, and this is going to go to 10, like that. And finally, now that we've done all of this, let's hit preview, see what we've done. So when you select this, it's going to show like so. And from any one of these states, you can switch back to the default state, and in default state, you can browse this shoe. Obviously, if you want to go super detailed, you can switch this to apply basically to what we've done. So when you change the color and then when you start switching, obviously it's going to show you this shoe, but you can change it around and include separate images like we did right here for all of your shoes. So if you want to do that, you can, but obviously I would just tell the client just to show them because this is the mock-up after all. It's not a finished code. Somebody has to code it actually at the end. So this is how that's going to look like. So I'm pretty happy with it. I think that the colors are changing at a nice pace. It's not too fast, it's not too slow. So let's now move on. So what I'm going to do next is actually save it. So hit Control S, and I want to connect this. So basically when you select this shoe, it actually has to pop in right here. And when you select this arrow, it has to go back. So what I would do is use the same animation. So basically let's animate that. So when you click right here to select this whole item, I will do it like that. So drag the arrow to here. What we want to do is use tap transition instead of auto animate because these elements are a bit different. So basically, to use auto animate, you need to have the same elements in order for it to make sense. But if not, if you don't have the same elements, then you can use something else, like in this case, transition. And for the transition, what I want to do is destination is this one, but instead of dissolve, let's see, push left or push right, I'm going to use push left, and instead of ease out, I'm going to use wind up because I need to have just a bit of styling, just a bit of animation to spice things up a little bit. Of course, you can play with these easings. As you can see, there are many of them, and basically decide what works best for you. So in this case, push left, so it's just going to push it, and because we have wind up, it's actually going to start and then push it to the side just to add that bit of spice. Instead of 0.6, I'm going to add 0.8 just for that bit of longevity. And basically, because we had push left, I'm going to click on my arrow, drag it to this screen to go back, and it's going to keep the same settings, but instead of push left, I'm going to use push right. And now let's hit preview on this one. Let me drag it to here just so you guys can see it. Basically what we have is we can scroll through these ones, everything looks good. We can scroll up and down, everything looks good there as well. But if I click on this one, as you can see, we have that a bit of bouncing effect, and then it starts transitioning, and then we have the same result in the other direction. So once again, you're going to see the black right here because it's bouncing and then goes to here, and same thing here. So it's going to have that effect here and then bounces back. Of course, you can have all of these different transitions. So if I switch back to here, instead of push, you have slide. So it's going to slide left, right, up, bottom. And you also have the push. So push up, down, right, and left. And of course, you have these easing. So you can play around with these different settings to achieve different results that you want. So let me check the stream. So we are already at 18 minutes. So let's now finish this off because I need to create animation for this button. Of course, buttons are really crucial when you're doing these animations, but basically what we are going to do is integrate a bit of more interesting style to this animation, because we have to show to the users that they are actually adding this to cart. So how can you do that? You can actually put a check mark. You can put the complex animation of product actually going from the screen to the button, from the screen to the card and stuff like that. So you can show all of those things. What I'm going to do is actually integrate two separate things. So I have these pick on tin, and I'm going to leave the link in the description if you want, if you guys want to get it. But basically what it is collection of all of these different icons. I think there are something around 1,000 icons or something like that. They are coming in many different file formats, so sketch, svg, psd, ai, jpeg, png, so all of those files. But the only icon I need is this one, so I'm going to select it from here, Control C, and I'm going to jump into my button, jump back to the design, open up my button, and I'm going to actually call it cart btn, and I'm going to hit Control V to paste in right here, something like this, and I'm going to reduce the size of it, and I'm going to call it check mark like that. And let's actually select it to be blue for this case, just so that we can see it, so something like that. So what I want to do is basically create some sort of a narrative. So when users tap add to cart, it's going to show them their shoe sliding in from the side. It's going to show this check mark like it's added. Then the shoe is going to go outside of the button. It's going to transition to the color, and then text is going to appear saying added to cart. So I know it sounds confusing, but trust me, it's just really simple when you know all of these steps. And basically, how can you plan all of these animations? Well, you can simply go and visit sites like Dribble, you can visit sites like Daily Inspire, Daily UI and stuff like that, and simply see those animations and what other designers are doing. Also, Instagram is one of the great ways to inspire yourself. You can follow designers and animators there just to see what they are doing. Of course, animation is really limited in XD. I explained that in my video on my YouTube channel. It got a bunch of dislikes because designers expect to do every single thing in one software, which is just not feasible and possible, especially for Adobe, which is this huge conglomerate which has many different software options out there. So XD integrates really well with Adobe After Effects. So if you want to get code, that's my preferred method of choice. You can simply animate it there, export to After Effects, polish up your animation, and then get code there. So if not, you can use something like Anima to get animations directly from Anima, and then simply share the code with developers or code it yourself if you want to. But enough talk, let's now move on to work. So what I need so far is I have my check mark, and basically what I want to do is I want to include a circle here. So let me check that. So let's go back to actually my original example. So what I want to do is, let's see, just for the text, so add it to cart, I want to include that. So I'm going to duplicate this text, Control D, and let me hide this original one. I'm going to write in added to cart, like that. I'm going to make sure it's center aligned. Let me hide myself just so you guys can see it better. And I'm going to position this text to the center like this and like this. And then I'm going to make it white. And because I don't think we have white color, we do. Let's actually select it from here. What I'm going to do is actually move it up. You can barely see it right here, which is the point, and hide it. So 0 2 times, or you can simply reduce the opacity there. I'm going to bring this back to here. And what I need to do is to create a circle for this check mark. So I'm going to use a circle. So let's actually go back to here. So let's see, maybe 30 by 30 or something like that. Let's see how it looks like. Yeah, I think 30 by 30 is going to look quite good. Let's select our color. Let's remove the border. Let's call it circle. And let's position it behind our check mark. Let's make our check mark be in the center, roughly around there. Make it white just so that we can see what we are doing, and group it, call it checkmark, like that. And what I'm going to do is select these two, make sure they are in the center like this and like this. And of course you can play around with this check mark if you think that it's too big. I think it looks quite good. So let's go back to it, and I'm going to actually position it right here. Just make sure it's in the center like so. And finally, what we need to do is actually include our shoe inside. So I'm actually going to quickly hide all of this, except for add it to cart. I'm going to move it here. So I'm going to hide these three, and I'm going to create a rectangle for my shoe, roughly around this, something like this, doesn't really matter. And I'm going to include this shoe in, because this is what we are going to select at the end. So let's quickly jump back to our folder, locate our shoe. Here it is, so two-tone main, drag and drop it inside. And what I'm going to do is just adjust it a touch, Shift Alt left click once again, like that, and I'm going to remove the border. And you can leave the fill because the fill is the same like this one, or basically what you can do is remove the fill altogether if you want to, but because it's masked in, it doesn't really matter. So for the shoe, what I'm going to do is select it, position it in the center, position it below my check mark, bring my check mark back like this, and position it roughly around here somewhere, something like that. I think it works quite well. So now comes the time of animating all of these. So let's quickly hide these. And actually, before I do, I want to make this shoe out of the way. So I want to position it right here, and perhaps, yeah, somewhere around there, because it's going to be hidden anyways, but I'm going to hide it either way. So 0 2 times to reduce the opacity like so. Everything else is hidden, so add to cart, bag icon like that. And if you have trouble understanding all of these, may I suggest to use a blank piece of paper, any kind of piece of paper, and simply draw the best way you can all of these steps. So plan in advance how all of these steps are going to look like, then test them out in XD just to see if they work and how it looks like. And if it doesn't look that well, perhaps easings or timings or pauses or stuff like that in XD is going to make a difference. Then if you want to be super professional about this, then move on to something like After Effects, and then inside of After Effects you can adjust separate keyframes, you can adjust keyframes for separate parts of your animation. So for example, at this part make sure the easing is like that, then at this part make sure it speeds up and stuff like that. So you can get really complex about your animations in After Effects, but you cannot do that in XD because it's just too basic. So let's now move on, and I'm going to create this to be component. So this is our default component, this is our default state, how it's going to look like before anything happens. So first things first, we have to select the shoe. So let's create shoe like that. And inside of this state, I'm going to bring the shoe back. I'm going to position it in the center like that. And I'm going to hide my bag and my add to cart by simply fading them out. Then what I need to do is to create a separate state for checkmark like that. And for my checkmark in my default state, what I'm going to do is bring it back just so I can see it. And I'm going to basically reduce the size of it. So just remember, this is 30 by 30 and this is freehand, so we are going to change it a bit later. So basically reduce it to something like this, so 10 by 10, and then reduce it in size. Go back to the check mark, show it, then go with 30 by 30. Just see it right here increasing, so a bit more, there we go. And then select the check mark itself, scale it up to the desired size. I think this works quite well, and basically that's about it. Now what we need is a blank state. So inside of this blank state, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the check mark. I'm going to move my shoe out of the way to somewhere around here, then reduce its opacity to like that, and I'm basically going to have this blank state. What I forgot to add is if we go back to the default state, so let's quickly add this as our blank state. But actually before we do, let's go to the default state. I'm going to duplicate this and call it BTN color like that. I'm going to simply use this blue color And for this, I'm going to remove my drop shadow from here. So let me hide myself so you can see it. Remove my drop shadow because this is just going to be the color. Reduce its opacity down to 0 because in the default state, we are not going to be needing it. And now let's go to the check mark and let's create a separate state. So actually, let's bring this back. Sorry. So bring the check mark back and bring the shoe back like that in the center. And there you go. And now let's check it out one more time. So this is the default state. This is the shoe. This is the check mark. And let's create a new state. Call it blank. And inside of the blank state, now we are going to do those steps. So reduce the check mark, move the shoe out of the way right there, reduce its opacity, and basically just leave it like that. And finally, in the last state, I'm going to show order completed or add it to cart like that. And inside of this state, I'm actually just going to bring the color back. And this text, which we pushed to the top, so add it to cart, I'm going to bring it to the center, bring the opacity back, and basically just push it right here. So if we jump through these states once again, what we have so far is this. So user is starting here. When they click on the add to cart button, the shoe is going to appear, add to cart and cart icon are going to fade in. We have the check mark, which is going to show later to show to your users that they actually perform that action. So to confirm, we have the blank, so shoe is going to go out of the way, check mark is going to fade back into white, and then finally color is going to show and this text is going to appear from the top. So now comes the time to animate all of this. So let me actually see what I did in my previous examples. So we have 4 additional copies which we need to create. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And basically it's the same for all of our states. So in this state, I'm going to show the shoe. In this state, I'm going to show the check mark. In this state, I'm going to show the blank. And finally, in this state, I'm going to show added to cart. So these are all of our steps. Now, if you're wondering why I don't do this on the single screen, it's not possible still in Adobe XD to do all of these animations on a single screen because we are going to use the time trigger between some of these screens. And the time trigger is still not supported in XD as of the making of this live stream. So hopefully in the future, they are going to support it so we don't have to create multiple copies of this same screen to show this animation and this flow. Hopefully they are going to integrate it in the future so you can do all of these things in a single screen. So to move on from here, what I need to do is include some animations. So from here, what I want to do is basically when they click on this button, what we need to do is include some animations. So let's start with that. So let's go to prototype, click and drag this blue handle to here. So what I'm going to do is use tap instead of transition. I'm going to use auto animate. Instead of wind up, I'm going to use ease in out. And then I'm going to use the duration of 1 second. Why 1 second? Well, because I want users to be able to enjoy this process and not just simply snap it into place and they don't know what happened. So that's why I'm using 1 second. Sometimes you can use, for example, 0.4 if you want something to happen extremely quickly. Sometimes you can use 2 seconds, 5 seconds. It doesn't really matter. What's important is to give your users enough time to realize that they've did something. So that's why I'm giving them 1 second. So let me hide myself so you can see this a little bit better. Then what we are going to have do is we are going to include time trigger. So I'm going to select the whole artboard. I'm going to drag it to here. Instead of tap, I'm going to use time. So I'm going to use delay of 0 seconds. So I'm not going to wait at all. I'm going to use auto animate, ease in out, and 1 second. And then for this one, let's see, I'm still going to use the time like this. So, but here I'm going to use the delay of 0.8 seconds because I want them to be able to understand what happens. So when this check mark pops up, I want it to stay for 0.8 seconds there. So they understand that they have completed something. So we have easing out once again, and finally we have 1 second. Then finally for this one, I'm still going to use the time. I'm going to have the delay of 0 seconds. 0, 0, like this. and then I'm going to use easy out, but I'm going to use 0.8 because there is really no point of me holding back this white transition, because shoe is going to disappear either way. So I want him to understand, okay, so I added this to cart, and what happens next. And finally, at these stages, let me actually just check on my previous example what I did. So in this last stage, what I want is to change this 3 to number 4 because they added this. So let's quickly go ahead and change it to number 4. What you can do is you can color in the entire icon if you want to, but I just want to change it to 4 so they understand that they actually did something. So let's go ahead and finally preview what we did so far. So obviously all of this works nicely, like I said. So you can switch these, you can move them around, but for some reason it doesn't work. For some reason it doesn't work. So let's check it out one more time. So we are at the default state. There you go. So it works. If I switch to here and then back to here. Okay, so it works. Colors work just fine because we didn't do anything in this live stream. And finally, let's check out the button. So when I hit add to cart, shoe is going to appear, check mark, shoe is going to disappear, blue added to cart. So if I show you one more time what we did, so just pay attention to those easings. This is why we've done it. So we have add to cart instantly, shoe comes in, waits, moves, and then instantly goes add to cart. Obviously you can polish up all of these animations a bit more if you want to, but if not, you can leave it at that. Of course, we can go back, we can select this, and then we can switch these around. We can add to cart. Once again, it appears, it disappears, add it to cart, and of course we have this little update of number 3 to number 4. So let's actually focus on that just for a second, which once again is really important just to give your indicators so you can check it out one more time. So from 3 to 4 you can see the switch, and of course here they can still continue. And for example, what I mentioned in the previous live stream, we can have them at the checkout stage so they can add additional colors or choices or stuff like that, or you can do it here. So they added this size and this color to cart, then we can select a different color, do the process one more time, add to cart, and then animate this one more time, and this is going to update to 5. Of course, it just depends on what you want to do and what you want to achieve with your animations and what you want to do with your design. So basically that's it. So once again, if I switch back to myself, we started from this. So we went from this paper wireframe and we moved that paper wireframe from this black dot grid piece of paper to Adobe XD, where we created these wireframes and we moved from these wireframes to design in the previous live stream. Then from this design we animated just a little bit, and now in today's live stream we finished that design off with these a bit more complex animations. If you want to get this file, make sure to join my membership. Link is going to be right there. So alexondesign.co. If you want to get this practice file, all of the other practice files, access to my courses, digital design products, and all of these integrations and interactions which we have in my private Facebook group. So if you want to get all of that, make sure to check out, here it is right there, and link is going to be in the chat as well. And of course you can subscribe to my YouTube channel for weekly content on Adobe XD, passive income design, design tips, and much more. So if you're interested in UI UX design, check it out. I promise you there is a lot of great content there, and we are growing all the time. So that's it for today's live stream. We were streaming live on my private Facebook group, on my YouTube channel, Alex on Design, and finally on my Behance page, which is Web Donut. Thank you so much for watching this live stream. I really hope you got some value out of it. And let me know in the comments, because I was in the comments with you all of this time throughout all of these live streams, what you want to see in the future. Do you want to see designs like these explored in a lot more details? For example, starting with design brief, starting with color exploration, starting with font pairing, starting with, I don't know, different industries, starting with questions for clients. Do you want to drag this out much more? so that we can have a real project, for example, per se, and then dig a lot deeper into all of those details? Or are you fine with something like this, which is just exploration for fun? Because as you can see, we just have two screens, and majority of apps are going to have 20, 30, 50 different screens. Let me know in the comments, because I follow your feedback. I try to create content which is going to be interesting for you guys, not just for myself. So let me know in the comments what you want to see in the future. Thank you once again for sticking with me on this live stream. I hope you got some value out of it. And once again, if you want to get this practice file that you see on your screen, make sure to join my membership, which is right there, and link is going to be in a chat. So thank you once again for watching, and until next time.